The Epic of Gilgamesh, written in ancient Mesopotamia. This edition is adapted into clear, modern English, choosing content over play of words, designed for language learners and casual listeners who want to enjoy the story without grueling language barriers.
Chapter 4: The Bull of Heaven and Enkidu's Fate. Upon their return to Uruk, Gilgamesh and Enkidu were celebrated as heroes. Gilgamesh washed away the blood and dust of battle, cleaned his long hair, and put on his finest royal robes and golden crown. He looked so magnificent that Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, looked down from heaven and fell in love with him. She descended to his palace and spoke to him.
"Marry me, Gilgamesh. If you become my husband, I will give you a golden chariot pulled by storm demons. I will fill your palace with wealth, your fields with rich harvests, and kings will bow down before you to kiss your feet."
But Gilgamesh was proud and knew the stories of the goddess. He rejected her proposal, saying,
"Why should I marry you? You are like a cold draught of wind that lets in the chill. You have treated all your past lovers with cruelty. You loved the shepherd, but then you turned him into a wolf, and his own dogs chased him away. You loved the stallion, but you sentenced him to carry heavy burdens. You loved the gardener, but you turned him into a toad. If I marry you, you will treat me the same way."
Ishtar was deeply insulted. She flew into a rage, ascending back to the heavens to stand before her father Anu, the sky god.
"Father,"
she screamed,
"Gilgamesh has insulted me. Give me the Bull of Heaven to destroy him. If you do not give me the Bull, I will smash the gates of the underworld, and the dead will rise to eat the living."
Anu feared her anger and released the Bull of Heaven. The celestial creature descended to Uruk, snorting with fury. With its first snort, a giant crack opened in the earth, and 100 warriors of Uruk fell to their deaths. With its second snort, another crack swallowed 200 citizens. Gilgamesh and Enkidu leaped into action to defend their city. Enkidu ran toward the celestial beast, grabbing it by its massive horns. The bull struggled, kicking its legs and snorting hot air, but Enkidu held on with all his strength, twisting the bull around to expose its neck.
"Strike now, Gilgamesh!"
Enkidu roared. Gilgamesh stepped forward, raised his bronze sword, and struck a powerful blow to the back of the bull's neck. The Bull of Heaven fell to the ground, dead. The city of Uruk rejoiced, and the citizens sang praises to their heroes. In his triumph, Enkidu tore off a piece of the bull's leg and threw it toward Ishtar's palace, shouting,
"If I could catch you, I would do the same to you."
But the gods in heaven were furious. They gathered in a great council to discuss the hero's deeds. The god Enlil stood up and declared, "They have slain the guardian of the cedar forest, and they have killed the Bull of Heaven. Because of this, one of them must die. Let Gilgamesh live, but Enkidu must pay the price." The gods chose Enkidu. Soon after, the wild man fell ill, his body burning with a hot fever. Day by day, his strength faded away, and he lay weak in his bed. As he neared death, Enkidu spoke to Gilgamesh about a terrifying dream he had of the underworld.
"My brother,"
Enkidu whispered,
"I saw the house of darkness, where the dead go and never return. It is a place where kings and beggars alike sit in darkness. They have no bread to eat, only clay, and they drink only dust. They are clothed in garments of feathers, and they sit in silence. I am afraid, my friend."
On the 12th day of his illness, Enkidu breathed his last. Gilgamesh was heartbroken. He wept over his friend's body for 7 days and 7 nights, refusing to let him be buried, hoping that Enkidu would wake up.
"My friend, who ran with the gazelles and protected the animals, is gone."
Gilgamesh cried.
"How can I rest? How can I live without him?"
At last, Gilgamesh ordered a magnificent funeral, burying Enkidu with rich gifts of gold and gemstones. But his heart was filled with grief and a new, terrible fear of his own death. Chapter 5. The Search for Immortality. Heartbroken and filled with a terrible fear of his own death, Gilgamesh threw away his royal robes. He clothed himself in wild animal skins and wandered through the deserts, crying out,
Will I die like Enkidu? I cannot rest. The fear of death eats my heart. I must find Utnapishtim, the only mortal who survived the great flood and received eternal life from the gods. He will tell me how to live forever.
Gilgamesh traveled across wide deserts and climbed rugged mountains, searching for the way to the land of Utnapishtim. At last, he reached the edge of the world, where the twin peaks of Mount Mashu rise. These mountains guard the rising and setting sun, and their foundations reach deep into the underworld. Guarding the entrance to the dark tunnel beneath the mountains were the giant scorpion men. Their looks were terrifying, and their glance was death. When the scorpion man saw Gilgamesh approaching, he turned to his wife and said,
He who comes is of royal blood. Look at his face and his stride.
Seeing Gilgamesh's royal bearing, the scorpion man asked,
Why have you traveled so far to this forbidden land, O king?
Gilgamesh replied,
I search for Utnapishtim, my ancestor, who stands in the assembly of the gods and possesses eternal life. I wish to ask him how he conquered death.
The scorpion man warned him,
No mortal has ever walked through this path, Gilgamesh. The tunnel is 12 leagues of absolute darkness. If you enter, you will see no light, and the cold will freeze your heart.
Though there be darkness and sorrow,
Gilgamesh said.
I must go forward.
Seeing his determination, the scorpion man opened the gate.
Go in safety, Gilgamesh. May the mountains allow you to pass.
Gilgamesh entered the dark tunnel. For the first league, the darkness was thick, and he could see nothing before or behind him. He walked for many hours, the air growing colder and heavier. By the 8th league, he was panting with exhaustion, but he pushed forward. By the 11th league, a faint wind began to blow, and at the 12th league, he finally emerged into the bright sunshine. He found himself in a beautiful garden of gemstones by the sea. The trees bore precious stones instead of fruit, with clusters of lapis lazuli and carnelian shining in the sun. By the shore lived Sigeri, the wise tavern keeper. She sat by the sea, watching the horizon. When she saw Gilgamesh walking toward her, she was alarmed. He wore wild animal skins, his face was hollow, and his body was worn from his long journey. Fearing he was a robber, she barred the heavy wooden door of her house. Gilgamesh called out to her,
Tavern keeper, why do you bar your door? I am Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who killed the guardian of the cedar forest and slew the bull of heaven.
Sigeri opened her window and looked at him.
If you are indeed Gilgamesh, why are your cheeks so hollow? Why is your face so sad? And why do you wear the skins of wild beasts?
Gilgamesh replied,
Why should my cheeks not be hollow? My brother Enkidu, whom I loved so dearly, has died. I wept for him for 7 days, hoping he would wake, but he has turned to dust. And now I fear my own death. Tell me, wise woman, how do I find Utnapishtim? How do I cross the waters of death?
Sigeri looked at the weary king with pity and spoke to him gently.
Gilgamesh, why do you chase the wind? The gods kept eternal life for themselves and gave death to mankind. Fill your belly with sweet food, dress in clean clothes, wash your head, and bathe in cool water. Rejoice with the wife of your bosom and hold the hand of your little child. That is the true joy of life. Do not search for a way to live forever.
But Gilgamesh refused to stop.
My brother is dead, and I cannot rest. Tell me, how do I cross the sea?
Sigeri sighed and said,
Only the sun god Shamus has ever crossed this sea. But by the shore lives Urshanabi, the ferryman of Utnapishtim. Go to him. If it is possible, he will take you across. If not, you must turn back.
Gilgamesh found Urshanabi, the ferryman told him.
The waters of death are deadly to touch, Gilgamesh. Go into the forest and cut down 120 giant wooden poles. We will use them to push our boat, using a new pole for each stroke so that our hands never touch the lethal waters.
Gilgamesh cut down the wooden poles. They pushed the boat into the sea, and for many days they sailed. Using the poles one by one, they crossed the waters of death without touching the water. At last, they reached the distant shore where Utnapishtim lived, and Gilgamesh stepped onto the land of the immortals. Chapter 6. The Great Flood and the Return. Utnapishtim looked at the exhausted king Gilgamesh and shook his head.
Nothing lasts forever, Gilgamesh.
The old man said,
Do we build a house to stand forever? Does the river stay flooded? Since ancient times, there has been no permanence. The sleeper and the dead are the same. They are both pictures of death.
But how did you obtain eternal life?
Gilgamesh asked.
You look no different from me. How did you join the assembly of the gods?
Utnapishtim replied,
I will reveal to you a secret of the gods. Long ago, in the ancient city of Shuruppak on the banks of the Euphrates, the gods grew angry at the noise of mankind. They decided to destroy the world with a great flood. But Ea, the god of wisdom, took pity on me. He whispered the secret to my house through a reed wall, saying, O man of Shuruppak, tear down your house and build a giant ark. Give up your possessions and save your life. Bring into the ark the seed of all living creatures. I built the ark as Ea commanded.
Utnapishtim continued,
I brought in my family, my gold, and 2 of every animal. Then, the sky turned black, and a terrible storm raged for 6 days and 6 nights. The waters rose so high that they covered the mountains, and all of mankind turned back into clay. Even the gods were terrified of the flood and wept. On the 7th day, the storm stopped, and the ark came to rest on the peaks of Mount Nimish. I opened a window and saw only water. I fell to my knees and wept. When the gods saw the destruction,
Utnapishtim said,
they felt deep regret. The god Enlil came to the ark, touched our heads, and blessed my wife and me, saying, Before this, Utnapishtim was but a human. From now on, he and his wife shall live forever at the mouth of the rivers. That is how we received eternal life. But who will gather the gods for you, Gilgamesh? Who will give you immortality? If you think you can conquer death,
Utnapishtim challenged.
First try to conquer sleep. Avoid sleeping for 6 days and 7 nights.
Gilgamesh sat down on the shore, determined to stay awake. But the moment he sat, exhaustion overtook him like a heavy fog. He closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. To prove how long Gilgamesh slept, Utnapishtim told his wife,
Bake a loaf of bread for each day he sleeps, and place it near his head.
She did as she was told. On the 7th day, Utnapishtim touched the king's shoulder. Gilgamesh woke up and said,
I only slept for a moment.
But Utnapishtim pointed to the loaves of bread at his feet. The first loaf was hard and dry, the second was decayed, the third was moldy, and only the 7th was fresh. Gilgamesh looked at the decayed bread and wept.
What shall I do, Utnapishtim?
He cried,
Death is everywhere. Wherever I go, death is waiting for me.
Taking pity on the weeping king, Utnapishtim's wife said to her husband,
He has traveled so far and suffered so much. Give him a parting gift to take home.
Utnapishtim turned to Gilgamesh and said,
I will tell you a secret, Gilgamesh. At the bottom of the deep sea grows a thorny plant. Its thorns will prick your hands like a rose, but if you succeed in plucking it, you will regain the youth of your childhood.
Gilgamesh tied heavy stones to his feet and jumped into the deep ocean. He sank to the bottom, found the thorny plant and plucked it, pricking his hands. He cut the stones from his feet, and the waves carried him back to the shore.
Urshanabi.
Gilgamesh rejoiced, showing the plant to the ferryman.
This is the plant of youth. I will take it back to Uruk, and I will share it with the elders of my city. We will all become young again.
Gilgamesh and Urshanabi set out on the journey back to Uruk. After walking for many days, they stopped by a cool, fresh spring of water. Tired and dusty, Gilgamesh stripped off his animal skins and stepped into the water to bathe. While Gilgamesh was bathing, a water serpent smelled the sweet fragrance of the plant. The snake slithered out of the grass, snatched the plant, and ate it. As it slid away, it immediately shed its old, dry skin and emerged shiny and reborn. When Gilgamesh returned and found the plant gone, he sat by the water's edge and wept bitterly.
For whom have my hands suffered, Urshanabi?
He cried,
I have gained nothing for myself. I have only brought a benefit to the serpent of the earth. The waters have carried my prize away, and I am left with nothing.
With heavy hearts, Gilgamesh and Urshanabi walked the remaining leagues until they finally reached the gates of Uruk. Gilgamesh looked up at the massive stone walls he had built. He looked at the busy plazas, the beautiful gardens, the towering temples, and the strong foundation stones. He turned to the ferryman and said,
Climb upon the walls of Uruk, Urshanabi, look at the foundation terrace, and examine the brickwork. See how strong the stone is. These walls will stand for generations to come.
In that moment, Gilgamesh's heart was quieted. He realized that while his body would eventually die, the great city he had built, the deeds he had performed, and the stories of his adventures would live forever in the hearts of his people. He had found his true immortality.